did this come from? Death note? As in, a notebook of death? The human whose name is written in this note shall die? So I can use this book to kill whomever I want? I mean, I could change the world, purge it of its criminals. Apparently, I just need their name and their face. Nah, what a bunch of baloney. What's this? Hey, I remember this game. It's that hack and slash game I played all the time as a kid. Man, it's been forever. But where did it come from?
Do not be afraid, mortal. I am Ares, god of war. I present myself as an ally.
Thanks, Ares. I'll go home and boot up my old PlayStation 2 right away. Why am I outside anyways when there are video games to play? Spartan Total Warrior is a hack and slash game from 2005, released on the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and the original Xbox. It was developed by Creative Assembly, the company behind the award-winning Total War franchise, a series of turn-based strategy games that utilizes real-time battles. One might say it was a bold move for a developer that specialized in strategical games to go ahead and create an action-filled hack and slasher, so the question is, did the boldness pay off? Well, 9-year-old Dark certainly liked it. I can't remember exactly how I obtained this, considering its mature rating, All I know is that I really enjoyed the game, despite its difficulty. I mean, my best friend usually came over and we would just play for hours and hours trying to finish a really tough boss or finish a particularly difficult escort mission. You'll see. The Total War franchise traditionally prided itself on historical accuracy when it comes to the settings of its games, but there is a black sheep in the family. Spartan Total Warrior is too cool for this restriction and refuses to listen to its predecessors and their pleas to stay reasonably true to history. There are many mythological elements that are thrown into the game, and you never know when it'll go from semi-believable to straight-up fantasy. This decision was made so Creative Assembly could have more freedom when constructing the game's plot, allowing for the protagonist to battle huge armies by himself and overcome epic monsters. The date is 300 BC, a time when the Roman army, led by the Emperor Tiberius, is kicking some serious butt during their conquest of Greece, and the last obstacle in their way is the city of Sparta. Make sure not to write that on your next history test, otherwise your teacher is gonna be pissed. Leonidas, the Spartan king, is preparing his soldiers for the imminent invasion. One of these soldiers, a man known simply as the Spartan, this nippleless fellow over here, is the protagonist and playable character of the game. During the introductory cutscene, our hero hears the voice of Ares, the god of war, inside his head. And Ares claims that he will help the Spartan defeat the Romans, if the Spartan follows his orders.
Do not be afraid, mortal. I am Ares, god of war. I present myself as an ally.
The game kicks off with the Romans attacking your city with a bronze giant called Talos. And no, not that Talos. This is where we first get thrown into the action, in the middle of a siege. No easing into things here. As the genre suggests, you'll be doing a lot of hacking and or slashing in this game. And I must say, Creative Assembly did a great job making the killing part feel satisfying, especially the rage attacks. I remember as a kid I would go out of my way to achieve these epic cinematic kills, usually by pushing people off of high ledges in spectacular fashions. But while the game and the combat is very fun, it's also very, very difficult. I'm playing through it again now on the medium difficulty level, Soldier, and I'm struggling on the first level. Let's talk about the intro mission, to give you a taste of what this game is like. It includes a segment where you have to protect two objectives at once, both your king and the gates, as Romans swarm the walls. Not only that, but you're also in charge of opening a second gate that lets your fellow Spartans into the action from time to time. It feels like you're the only capable warrior in the entire army, and you might find yourself failing these missions on your first go, having to learn through trial and error. I mean, this is 5 minutes into the game! As a kid picking up the controller for the first time, this would be a nightmare. Then again, this game does have a mature rating. On a more positive note, Spartan Total Warrior has a very neat feature that displays every enemy soldier's name under their health. It's a minor detail, but things like that have always amused me. It's nice to know the name of the soldier you're about to shield bash off a wall as you wait for the satisfying crunch that signals their demise. Romans fall for me too easily. This first chapter revolves around preventing the Roman invaders from successfully taking over Sparta with their bronze giant, and we shoot it down just as it's about to gently caress the wall. Despite this, it's only a matter of time before the Romans strike again, so Ares commands us to go and seek out the weapons necessary to protect Sparta. And that will be our main motivation for the first 60 to 70% of the game. Ares will send us from place to place and we will fight to obtain new powers and new weapons so we can withstand the might of the Roman Empire. Sadly, we can't really travel through an open world to reach our objectives. It's all done via a mission select menu, which can make the game feel a bit disjointed at times. When you go to start the next mission, you're presented with the upgrade screen, where you can use the acquired favor of the gods to upgrade your health and damage, and you'll later be able to wield and upgrade the magical force called Power of the Gods as well. And so, the Spartans' journey begins. We travel across Greece on our journey to prevent Emperor Tiberius from raising his Roman banners across Europe. We battle epic foes, dismember legions of Roman soldiers, and cringe our way through unbearably painful dialogue.
But the village would put on a feast for us. Food, wine, grateful farmers' daughters.
Blind ones, in your case.
Medusa's shield, the blades of Athena, the hammer Deathbiter, and the spear of Achilles all come into our possession at different points during our adventure, and Ares cheers us on all the way. He's such a great role model. What's made very clear when you get into the later missions of the game is that this is not an experience you can breeze through. For a hack and slash, there's a lot of care that must be put into the defensive aspect of the combat. You cannot simply mash your way through. You need to be tactical, take out archers, prevent enemy reinforcements, always be ready to block those incoming attacks. But most importantly, don't jump anywhere. Today we remember our hero, the Spartan. While he was quite capable of defeating legions of Roman soldiers single-handedly, we did not take into consideration his mortal enemy, gravity. May he and his nippleless chest rest in peace. After the Spartan's funeral and resurrection, we suddenly find ourselves on a battlefield by the power of editing. Here we take part in an epic clash between Roman and Spartan soldiers, and I feel this segment really highlights one of Creative Assembly's main ambitions during the development of the game. They wanted to have as many soldiers on screen as possible in a battle that still felt dynamic and exciting. When they realized that they couldn't make a proper Total War game on console, seeing as having 10,000 units fight at once was impossible with the hardware at the time, they decided to make a hack and slasher instead. So in a way, the limitations of the consoles were actually positive, seeing as how a whole new game was created as a result of them. The development team behind Spartan Total Warrior began work on this game shortly after completing their previous epic game, Rugby. Boy, talk about genre change. Simply killing off a few Romans here and there just won't be enough to stop the Empire. No, if this endeavor is to be successful, we will require the aid of a famous historical figure, Archimedes himself, or as he's known to some gamers, the worst escort NPC ever. Let's go meet him.
I have received word that the Roman Empire is planning to have me assassinated. Today, here in this square, as I speak to the people, I would gladly give my life in exchange for Athens' freedom.
But without your leadership, the resistance will crumble.
Without this speech, there will be no resistance.
Go ahead and make your speech. I'll see that nothing happens to you.
I really wouldn't mind a few arrows in your skull, Archimedes, but I guess I have to protect you.
So as Archimedes is babbling on about freedom and such nonsense, you have to run around and let the townspeople guide you to where the assassins are located. The assassins themselves are just kinda chilling, not appearing to be in any sort of rush to shoot the old man. It's a rather simple mission once you learn where the assassins are and learn how to navigate the rooftops. Then you have to fight off some Roman soldiers and spies in the streets until Archimedes is finally done with his speech.
You might think, hey, Dark, that wasn't so bad. Aren't you overreacting? Well, we haven't even gotten to the good part yet.
The time has come to escort Archimedes to safety. Not only is he very fragile and whiny, he also tends to run straight into the enemy troops at a whim.
It's Archimedes! Get him!
So as Archimedes runs around town, banging on doors and pleading to be let in, you must defeat the hordes of Roman soldiers that go straight for the old man. As a kid, this was probably one of the most frustrating parts of any game I had played, topped only by the wine cellar puzzle in the Hobbit game. But that's a dreadful tale for another day. Just get us to the safe house quickly, Archimedes!
I'd better ask someone for directions. Excuse me, sir. Do you know the way to number 7, Leophorus Marsilius?
You don't even know the way to the hideout? Do you think we have time to chat with civilians, Archimedes? I'm still fighting the waves of enemies that you ran past.
If I remember right, it's first here, then your first left.
Okay, let's take a left over here. Wait, what?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to help out.
Sorry doesn't cut it.
I'm not going any further until I know that there are no more Romans around the corner.
Jeez, there are a lot of guys that you must take out all by yourself. And if you or Archimedes die at any point during this mission, it's back to the beginning with you. The checkpoint isn't even at Archimedes, it's in the middle of the city, so you have to make your way back to him if you wish to try again, something you have to do if you wish to progress. It's also extremely easy to just outrun Archimedes by accident because he stopped and he didn't look back, and if you stray too far from the old man, a band of assassins will charge out of the nearest door and attack him. The game also tends to bug out, allowing several enemy waves to spawn at once. Archimedes will just run ahead even though combat is still ongoing, causing you to fight 2 or even 3 waves of Romans at once.
Alright, that's it. I've had it with your shenanigans, Archimedes. Well, now that I got that out of my system, let's try this again, shall we? Archimedes? Whoopsie.
Towards the end of the game, you finally end up in Rome, near the Emperor's location, which just so happens to be
The Coliseum.
Emperor Tiberius is apparently watching the gladiator games this day, but to reach him, we must make our way to the upper levels.
And to get to the upper levels, we must make our way through the main arena itself. Guys and girls, it's time for one of the greatest battles of my childhood.
The Coliseum fight is just, it's so good. It's the #1 scene that pops into my head when I think about Spartan Total Warrior. Having come so far in the game and having killed thousands of soldiers, you now stand near your final challenge. With hordes of enemies to defeat and plenty of shrines to keep the action going, this area is one of the most memorable gaming locations of my childhood. What I would particularly like to highlight is the music that plays during this fight. The track is called Death and Destruction, and it's made by the same guy who composed the soundtrack for Medieval 2 Total War, another one of my childhood favorites. Let me just say, Death and Destruction really stuck in my head when I was a kid, which actually sounds pretty horrible now that I say it out loud. It was the track that reminded me of my countless battles throughout the game, and especially this Coliseum fight. Overall, the Spartan Total Warrior soundtrack is quite good. It combines electronic music together with classical orchestral elements, and it gives the soundtrack some flair.
Finally, Emperor Tiberius.
No. Please, please, don't hurt me.
You are responsible for the death of my people.
It wasn't me. I was just following orders.
Save your words for Hades, Emperor.
Die! Like your beloved Spartans before you. You'll suffer. This isn't over. He knows. He knows! Him! He knows!
Somehow I was hoping for more from the final boss. Oh well, beats a QTE boss any day of the week. Let's just pack up our things and... Wait, who's that in the arena down there?
I told you that I would help you in your quest for knowledge, and in doing so you would deliver the vengeance I sought. And so it ends, mortal. And you played your part perfectly.
Well damn! The last boss of the game is Ares, the god of war. He's been playing me this whole time, what a jerk.
Prepare to fight a god!
The fight against Ares is one for the ages. He will resurrect nearby dead soldiers and make them fight for him, create clones of himself and use several fire-based attacks to best you. As a kid, I was naive and figured I'd be fighting the Emperor here, but having that sweet little twist at the end was very satisfying, especially when the result was fighting against an actual gods. It's a fight that's harder than a Spartan's abs. It took me at least 20 tries when I played through the game recently. It doesn't feel unfair though, it's all a matter of learning his tactics and how to counter them. You can read his movements and hear his pre-attack noises to get a good picture of how to react. It's a grand battle, and it's a fitting climax to the game. Although I still think that Archimedes should have been the final boss, but hey, I'm not a game designer.
It was over. Our epic quest to stop Tiberius and the Roman Empire had ultimately drawn us to this moment. The Spartan had discovered his true identity, defeated the Empire, and battled a vengeful god to free his people. A warrior, a hero, a legend.
And that concludes Spartan Total Warrior. So, is it a good game? Well, I'd say that it's an enjoyable experience if you're willing to look past its flaws, if you're willing to look past the cheesy dialogue and the unrelatable characters, because the combat is really fun, and the difficulty makes playing the game itself very, very satisfying, and it's definitely one of my childhood gems that has now been revisited and recompleted. Overall, my rating for this game is 0 nipples out of 2. Good job, Self.
Spartan, is that you? I'm not
Wait, what?
going any further. Spartan,
Did you hear that?
there are no more
No.
weapons around the
I thought I killed you. No! Archimedes, no!
Stay close to me.